Live. Amazing. We're reacting to...
Going off of the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're not reacting, okay? But we're just watching this fucking video because I can. This fucking meta video from your Overwatch. And then we're going to be watching Samito's reaction to it. Because I'm very curious about this fucking 6v6 debate that's going on that's just cropped up over the past couple weeks in Overwatch.
What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. The only thing that I enjoy more than being on the Group Up podcast is listening to it. If I could, I would take that podcast, roll it up, and smoke it. I think it might be required because of some of the arguments I'm hearing for 6v6 to return in Overwatch. I think they're suffering from some severe memory loss with some of the things I'm hearing coming out of the community with these rose-tinted glasses. But I've seen a lot of you guys in the comment section as well on the 6v6 hype train. So let's break it down and try to steel man that argument first, and then go through all the reasons why I think it's a ludicrous idea. Some objective things about 6v6. It had a higher skill ceiling because of the complexity of the team compositions. We had pretty much all of the same shooter kits that we do in Overwatch 2, but with a severely more complicated added layer of tank synergy, which, when you pick synergistic tanks, had the skill ceiling of really maximizing the control in a MOBA aspect. Nowadays, tanks in Overwatch 2 are more giga brawlers, but only Overwatch 1 fans remember how difficult, challenging, and deep the game got with 2 tanks, because the fundamentals of layering your abilities together to maximize space when working correctly was unlike any other game experience that's ever been released. Now, in the 6v6 camp, they make the claim that the heroes were designed for 6v6. Well, if you hear the devs from Overwatch 1 talk, I'm not sure they even knew what some of those heroes were designed for necessarily. From what I understood, especially then, they designed heroes based on their character fantasy, and the sort of formatting was secondary, definitely. And meta implications and game balance and OP synergies, those aren't really on the table when it comes to the design of the game. They just want to make fun characters. But what I will agree with is that in the 2-tank scenario, having an off tank meant you could kind of supplement any playstyle, and even as metas can come and go, there was always options for you to pick around your Roadhog player, or whereas in Overwatch 2, you just have a Roadhog, and before he gets his rework, he very clearly does not seem like he's got all of the tools a tank needs in order to maintain that single role position for now. The other standout is a key takeaway right now. Wrecking Ball, pretty horrible of a tank in the turret meta, mainly because his strength isn't holding the front line. It's scurrying and setting up pincer attacks, and in some metas he's been pretty good. I think he's been underrated in Overwatch 2 in different points of its life, but for sure in the meta where it's all about big cooldowns and a lot of easy value sustainability, there's just not much point to manipulate their positioning and try to set up a pincer, because the healing and stats of everything is so high that it's not really going to do a whole lot. Tanks that sort of just hold their ground or have effects for the team are just going to be way better than Ball for a while, I think, until the game powers down or he gets more complicated. So those are 2 very clear, distinct, left high and dry type characters that 5v5 left in the dust. A couple more key points for the 6v6 camp. We didn't have it long enough in role queue. The problem was, in the development cycle at the time, they were really focusing on Overwatch 2 and the story missions and all that. So while we did get role queue eventually in Overwatch, they only added a couple more characters after that. We got role queue around Sigma, and then the game wasn't even really picking up its balanced cadence until after Echo, and well after for that matter. So by the end, they started balancing it better, but we went from like either double shield to that getting toned back, and I think the community is sort of forgetting Wrecking Ball and Hog being meta for a while, which wasn't so great either on the alternate end of the spectrum. But that's their main argument, that it wasn't tested long enough to properly get any balance concerns looked at. The balancing was so bad in role queue that with the right moves, they would argue that it would perform a lot better. So we can't necessarily just look to problematic heroes in 2-2-2 role queue, because the new balance philosophy of speeding up the cadence hadn't really kicked in yet. Another argument for 6v6 to 5v5 is that in 5v5, steam rolls are much more severe and common, especially now in Season 6, the rock, paper, scissors is getting out of control. Whereas in 6v6, because you had 2 tanks, you could build a much more well-protected team comp and at least feel like you're countering out a big percentage of the enemy's offense. Whereas in Overwatch 2, there's always a weakness to your comp. Your comp can always be somewhat countered. It might be a non-meta viable hero that counters you, but there's always openings for those heroes to make plays on you. Whereas in Overwatch 1, it was much more about making stable team comps and playing a more, let's say, teamwork-based game, as opposed to a counter-pick, skillful deathmatchy style game that we have in 5v5. So the strategy, I think it's safe to say, was less turbulent. In Overwatch 2, there's strategy there too, but it hits you really hard and fast. And you sort of just have to counter-pick in order to stabilize things. Otherwise, you can get rolled forever.
Wait, how did she get infested? Shut up, we're not resting. I don't understand how she got infested. Shut up, Shadowheart. These just free heals. What are we at? Oh no, we have like one short now.
In Overwatch 1, the defenses were so much higher that swapping your tank composition specifically, but also the tanks and supports together, you could at least slow the game down almost for sure. In comparison, 5v5 is far more chaotic, as it always feels like even after you counterpick one thing, if another enemy decides to counterpick you, well, now you're on the back foot, and it kind of goes back and forth with the rock, paper, scissors in the asymmetric 5v5 team comp formation. Okay, I'm sure they have more arguments than that, but those are, I think, the strongest points. A lot of them are just straight up logically true. My issue is where there's some higher truths that are above all of these things that make me conclude for sure 5v5 is undoubtedly the right way to go, and I think we should just silence these 6v6 talks and instead try to take some aspects of what we've learned along the way to adapt 5v5. A few ones stand out right away. Fallen Hog should get reworked. We'll see that over time. Let's see what Hog, after he gets more teamwork abilities, plays like, because I think, for example, if he was a little bit more complicated like Junker Queen, maybe we'd have an entirely different conversation about the more solo QS flanking Hog playstyle. He could be re-engineered to be more useful to the team like Queen can be, despite being, you know, kind of similar in terms of CC, shotgun-based hero, skill shot, low on protection for the team, but you can still play Overwatch 2 with that character because of the shout. I think Wrecking Ball's not far off. They just have to decide, are we going to have a deployment-based meta be like a strong component in Overwatch? All of a sudden, it felt like in Overwatch 2, we had dodge double shield forever, but then they just kept adding deployment stuff, and now there is a bunkery style of play that re-emerged in the game. Prior to that, it was much more rush or flank. And poke existed as well, but it wasn't stable. Poke was defined more so by its ranged firepower as opposed to the deployables that you could maintain the team with. And this is also a bit of an argument from the 6v6 camp, is that a lot of the power was transitioned away from one of the tanks and into the support roster, which I think is undoubtedly true. I had said as much, especially when we look at characters like Lifeweaver, or the way we have to play around Batiste Lamp or Suzu nowadays. Those are some of the best defense on the team, and as opposed to your tank being the one who's going to protect you from some big ultimate coming in, you need your support to do that play now.
Wait, what do we want Spider Step boots on? Maybe Lizelle. Where it starts to turn 50% of the game momentum for one turn. This seems like a car-like run.
Because tank in 5v5 is a lot more about anchoring your position, and the styles of the gameplay is certainly much more formulaic, less complicated, and more straightforward.
Bro. I haven't gotten any value out of this
the
feature.
cart, interact with the characters that you counter, and you're more so holding the line as opposed to like pushing for space. There's no way of like cycling Ryan Zarya cooldowns to manipulate the front line. You can go at their tank or hold your ground, and that's sort of what tanking is in 5v5. But even with all of this sounding kind of bad, I still think that the arguments pro 5v5 are so much stronger that none of these downsides will be worth to change it back. All right, I'm gonna start going ham. I think it's ridiculous to think that 6v6 was easier or more balanceable, because it seems like nowadays we're just forgetting about so many Overwatch 1 specific problems which had to be fixed and rectified. The strongest one, of course, was that there was not enough tank players to put 2 tanks in every game. That might be the only argument we really need to make. We didn't have the player base to sustain that format. And because of
I 100% agree with this take. That is the only argument you need to make. Objectively, I don't really fucking care about any other argument. There is no fucking reason to go back to 6v6 because of the fact that, like, that people don't want to play tank. And because people don't want to play tank, they're not queuing it, and the queue times suck for everybody except tanks. But this is like such a small percentage of the player base that there's such a small percentage of the player base that wanted to play tank in Overwatch 1 that now in Overwatch 2, where they removed one of them, so there's only half the amount of people playing that role, it's still the lowest queue time role, usually. It's a lot more balanced now, but it's still the lower queue time role. It's either that or, well, right now it's not support. Now it's actually, support is actually the highest queue time role right now, but that's probably because Alari's in the game and because they added Lifeweaver and shit. But in the beginning of Overwatch 2, the first like 3 seasons, I think support was the lowest queue time role. But people like don't like tank now. But yeah, like this is just objectively true. Like if you just like add another tank and like increase queue times or whatever, like people already complain about the top 500 queue times, and then it's like, bro, you want to have another tank player? Like, what? So you want to wait in queue and play Minecraft for an hour before you get a fucking 10-minute game? Are you fucking serious?
that, queue times on the other roles, specifically DPS, a role that really got the short end of the stick for the majority of Overwatch 1 for quite a few reasons, had to have horrible queue times. This was so severe that the devs even considered the 1-3-2
We're gonna get a Gale rework cooking.
experiment where they tried one tank who was a Giga tank similar to the 5v5 tank we have today, but 3 DPS, because that was more reasonable to the distribution of players who wanted to play Overwatch. Then on top of that, even more importantly, I don't have to just make a utilitarian argument based on the players we have. I go one step further and say that the quality of the game experience for those DPS players is way better in 5v5. They're the majority of the player base.
I'm not making fun of Rito. I'm making fun of fucking Vosh, okay? The utilitarian. The utility. Wait, he has friends? I didn't know this guy got friends. Hold the phone. Hold on. Let me get, let me check out Wizard. For like cantrips. Obviously he doesn't use charisma, but literally just like giving that as an advantage for dialogue checks for like anybody else if he's just in the party is really nice. You get a 5th cantrip at level 10. Oh, Jesus Christ. What are we gonna remove? Because I'm going to get a 4th cantrip, right? Do we just not take Bone Chill? I feel like I never use this thing. This is going to do the highest damage of any cantrip. And then this is just good for fighting like fire enemies. It's like good to... And also like for if people are in water and stuff like that. This is good for melee range. If you don't want to like use your action to just like use disengage basically because you have like no other fucking option. This is good for melee range. However, honestly, You could make the argument that anytime you're in melee range, you should just be clicking this. Because it always hits. And bro, it's a level 1 spell. Who the fuck cares? You're probably going to do the same amount of damage compared to this anyway. You actually probably do more damage on average because it's 3 dice rolls. Who always hit. This doesn't always hit and it's 1 dice roll. I actually think Shocking Grasp is actually kind of fucking mid, literally just because of this. Like, this just kind of negates the purpose for it in a lot of ways. I think this is a good spell. This is a good spell, obviously. You kind of need mage armor. I think this one's just, like, OP as fuck. What else are we looking at? What is shield? When you're about to be hit by an enemy, increase armor cost by 5. This is a reaction? Take no damage from magic missile. What is magic missile? Oh, that's just the spell that we saw. That's pretty sick. It's a level 1 spell, too. That's a cool reaction. I really like that. Grease is cool. Dude, I just kind of, I don't really see the value in sleep. I honestly don't think sleep is that good. Because of the HP threshold requirement. What's the final spell I should do? Maybe Thunderwave? I honestly don't even understand Disguise Self. Like, is your idea with Disguise Self that you, or so, like like what you do with it is you disguise yourself into a completely different, like unrecognizable thing to disengage from combat? Is that the purpose of it? Let's look it up. BG3, how to use Disguise Self. So you can change your race to, I mean, that's interesting. But do we really fucking care? Do we really care about that? Nah, bro. Maybe Greece. Let me do this really quick before I fuck this up. Okay, so we obviously do that. I think we do... Yeah, I think we do that. Like, we don't give a fuck about charisma. I think we don't give a fuck about wisdom. If I do that, if I do that. I mean, the only other thing we would do is this. But... Oh, and then what do we want with this? Is survival wisdom? I don't know why I even care about that. Honestly, let's just go all out. Am I picking Grease for this? Dude, Tasha's Hideous Laughter is kind of a beast spell, bro. I don't know. Right? Level them up. We're gonna take Evocation. Because later on down the line, it's really fucking good. And then we pick 2 more spells. So we pick Thunder Wave and Sleep, I guess. For whatever reason, I've always gotten so many Featherfall scrolls. So I can just teach this to him if I really want to. But like... Yeah, I don't know. There's also potions for it, but like you can just use a scroll. I guess that's an action, right? Using a scroll is an action. Okay, we want... I have a scroll of Misty Step, so we are not going to do that. Let me just check what scrolls I have before I proceed. So we have this. We have Featherfall. Yeah, we have Misty Step. We have Polymorph. Hypnotic Pattern. Probably use that at some point. Blindness is a good spell. This type of spell on like a wizard seems really nice. Yeah, like the biggest thing is gonna be the scroll of Misty stat. What is this? Scroll of Flaming Sphere. You can move the sphere. It emits a bright light. That's interesting. But it's fire. It's not radiant. Let me check the chest for light armors. Yeah, like this. He's 15 right now. Okay, gotcha. Wait, did the spell just disappear? Wait, what the fuck? Why? Wait, was it because I put on the... Can't have armor equipped. Oh, but I can have a shield equipped. I mean, this is literally just 2 armor class. So who the fuck cares? Yeah, that's like insane, right? So we're clicking this. And we're literally just at 17. And we're like level 2. Yeah, I mean, this is just objectively better than wearing light armor. Unless you can find a light armor that gives you plus 4. Like, unless you can find 14 bonus from light armor, mage armor is just better. The biggest thing is that it lasts until long rest and you don't have to concentrate on it. And yes, it's a spell slot used, but it's a level 1 spell. Who the fuck cares? You know? And you just get 2 armor class more. Oh, let me grab a backpack. I still don't know who I want to use the hair thing on. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, let's level up. Spells. So we have this as a scroll, we have this as a scroll. This. Oh, where's Hastened? Is that how you spell it? Oh, Haste. Oh, it's level 3 spell. Gotcha. Okay. Hold on, let me go back to Wizard. Yeah, I can learn it at level 3. Okay. I think Shatter is a must. I think Cloud of Dagger is also really good. I don't even know. Cantrips. We are gonna take... Are we taking Bone Chill? Are we taking Minor Illusion? We'll take Minor Illusion for now. Do I have a Blurred Scroll? This is another concentration one. They have disadvantage on attack rolls against you? I don't know. That doesn't even seem like... It's only against you is my problem with it. Oh, dude, hold person is so good. But we have, I want to be more offensive with the spell choices, but I guess, like, I don't really have much to... Because I can just learn this stuff, you know what I mean? Because I have the cleric, that's why. Because I have Shadow Heart for that sort of thing. Oh, the enlarge reduce thing is cool. I think we'll grab that. Yeah, honestly, the real downside to mage armor is that you have to have it equipped all the time, right? For it to actually be a thing. Okay, we're gonna take haste and lightning bolt. I think this is like super obvious, right? Yeah, I think lightning bolt is like one of the best spells in the game. Yeah, we'll take fireball next level. Don't worry about it, okay? Maybe there's a scroll for it somewhere. I don't know. Okay. Okay, back to our video.
And in 6v6, because the gameplay was so much about tanks, most of the DPS players' experience was shooting tanks. Let's just forget the whole, like, double shield problem. Pretend that's not even a thing. Most of DPS players' game experience in 6v6 is just trying to get around the tanking, as opposed to 5v5, where I'll admit, when I play DPS, I can be a big crybaby if I don't like what my tank's doing, but I know at the end of the day, even if they're losing the battle on the front line, I always should be able to get value on the flank. In Overwatch 2, there's wide open flank lanes, so you can help your tank or you can flank. Doesn't matter if you're getting counterpicked, losing the game, whatever. And I think players are really undervaluing the quality of that experience. Getting steamrolled in Overwatch 2 can be really tough, but the counterpicking in the DPS category exists as well, whether it's on the hero choices or on your playstyle. So even if your tank's getting countered, you can at least shoot the enemy. You might still lose, you might get stomped, you might get all that, but it's not the same experience as having the enemy have two tanks that you just can't interact with the entire game. Losing badly in Overwatch 2 happens just like in 1, and in some ways people would argue it's harsher, but I don't agree. I think you at least have openings to get some eliminations, whereas in Overwatch 1, the RPG team comp builder aspect of it was so severe. There were situations on maps where you could not shoot the enemy, ever. You start losing the frontline battle, the game's just over. You might as well sit and spawn as a squishy character. Actually unplayable. Just because you're getting steamrolled in Overwatch 2 and the rock, paper, scissors is severe, you still get to play. You still get to shoot at the enemy at some point. You can still get an angle, hit a headshot, make a combo, land your ult. The gameplay experience is still playable. Overwatch 1 in many cases was unplayable, and the biggest way that it was unplayable is the gap between your team comp being bad and the enemies being good. Let's just put meta aside. That can make it more severe when there's a balance patch that promotes double shield and your team wants to play something that's just isn't viable for the meta. Just forget that. Across many metas in 6v6, if your team didn't have a synergistic comp, you kind of just couldn't play the game. And in 5v5, you may still lose because of the rock, paper, scissors matchup not going your way somewhere. Right now, I'd say if you don't have a Bastion and your team isn't countering their Bastion, it's just going to be a hard time. If they go Orisa and you target the Orisa and they got a Lifeweaver healing it forever and you never target him, well, good luck. There's just certain things like that in 5v5 that are super oppressive, let's say. But I sincerely feel that the community just isn't very good at this game yet. A lot of the comms that I hear and a lot of the arguments for certain things, the rapid balancing in 5v5 has really let the player base sink into complacency and just expect the game to solve it for what they want to do and play. Whereas 5v5 is more complex and emphasizing counterpicking. I think it's too severe and I'm not a huge fan. I'd rather have draft and all that, but they want counterpicking in the game. So by their own design, counterpicking makes sense. And we argued for a long time in Overwatch 1 that it didn't. I was happy when it wasn't so relevant at the start of Overwatch 2, I'll admit that, but the RPG team comp builder aspect of 1 was so much more important than just counterpicking, really, because the things they could do to protect each other was so much harsher in 6v6, whereas, as I say, in 5v5, there's always kind of openings for you to flex your hero pool around. So if you like to play a lot of heroes, I think 5v5 is great, especially if you like running back to spawn to swap on tank. But I think everybody should be swapping. I think the community's like getting away a little bit because the tank is the focal point oftentimes in our community conversation. We're not really having the necessary conversation on the counter picks for the other 4 heroes on the team, which I think matters a ton. And let's just keep stacking up these points. I think the queue times in 5v5 have undoubtedly improved in Overwatch 2. You might argue that's because they're adding more content and it's a live service game now, free to play, etc. But Overwatch 1 kept going on discounts anyway. It wasn't that expensive, and frankly, during the entire lifetime of Overwatch 1, there was a tank player problem. Whether it's open queue, roll queue, we just did not ever have the players. And I think there's some rose-tinted glasses tank players for Overwatch 1 that had instant queues, got to really dominate the game, and now they're moving to Overwatch 2 and complaining that they just don't do enough, despite needing to do quite a lot. And I'm kind of with them in a way because tank is very difficult and challenging, and I think they do need to do another balance pass to the game, but there was some metas in Overwatch 2 so far where tank was incredibly good. It hasn't always been like this, and before you know it, we're getting back to a place where Junker Queen or Ramatra or whoever are hard carrying games again. Another problem with this viewpoint is often it's expressed by high tier players, and you can talk all about the tank synergy and its potential in Overwatch 1. The reality was that for, I'm going to say, somewhere between 90 and 99% of all players of Overwatch, most of the time the tank synergies and meta were utterly irrelevant, and especially for medal rank players, the game was really just about pick Reinhardt or have a very hard time. So while yes, the 6v6 proponents are correct mathematically speaking when they say there was so many different tank combos that existed, that wasn't true for the majority of the player base. So I think what they're describing in that like deep, rich complexity really only applied to the most hardcore and skilled players. Everybody else was playing a different game to you, and 5v5 closes that gap significantly by controlling more variables and taking some of those complexities out. And because of that, there's a much more streamlined balance curve to the game because the gaps between the highest tiers and the average tiers aren't as severe, and the game is much more about just hitting shots because there is open shots to take. So just setting the tank experience aside, because we all agree it's kind of rough recently, but look at the other 4 squishies in the game thankfully, and for the better in every single way, moved away from needing to hold the hand of your tank constantly and play with them as a death ball perfectly, making an RPG team comp builder comp.
Hold on. Let's finish this fucking fight before I finish this video. I am technically threatened right now. This is pretty fucking annoying position there. So if I jump, it's 4 opportunity attacks, but like it's kind of a meme. I could disengage. Yes, and then, oh, this is really good for me. Holy shit. Yeah, this is really nice. And then I get to jump as well. And then I get my 2 shots. Oh, that's fine. We just don't want to get pushed off. Do I want to grab a Misty Step here? I don't know if I do. Fuck. Yeah, this boss is like so hard. I might grab a Misty Step in the other direction. Well, sorry, the boss isn't that fucking hard. It's just like annoying positioning for it because it's so spaced out. But like Gale's like half health. I don't want to just like Misty Step him over here or some insane shit like that. That just seems ridiculous.
Knight to King 5.
I'm literally just gonna dash over here. What is Shadowheart doing this turn? He's just short rest, right? Yeah. Shadowheart can definitely afford this. You can even do this. What I want to do is bless. Are you serious? We don't really care much about that. Opportunity attack from a fucking loser right there. Okay, that's fine. That's the last one. Oh, this is a long rest. Okay, interesting. I could just Misty Step right here. Avoid all the noise. Oh, I'm poisoned. Oh no, I didn't realize. Oh no. Okay, we get a hit anyway. We get 2 hits anyway. Yeah, we want evasive maneuver for sure. Or evasive for whatever it's called. Okay, is she also poisoned? She is. Disadvantage on attack rolls. This is not an attack roll. This is like a wisdom saving throw, right? Con saving throw. Saved? Get out of here. Oh no, Shadowheart's getting gangbanged. There's more of these things. Yeah, I kind of need Misty Step on this character, unfortunately. So when I get those boots from near, like that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing. I think I'm just gonna deal with this shit, bro. Just kill these guys. I see no reason to like go down there with them. These guys are just annoying. Yeah, I'm gonna be decisive about Gale coming up here though. Oh, not enough movement. I can't see him from there, right? No fucking way. To kill the spider web, yeah, definitely would. For sure, yeah. What if I get Aw, path is interrupted. Aw. Target's too far. Can you throw stuff further if you're higher strength? That's probably true, right? Holy based Gale. God damn. Holy shit. What a legend. Good kill, good kill. There's just 3 of these fucking things. Yeah, I don't even know if I want to like waste it. It'd be nice if I can just get Lizelle to come over and just cleave him, you know? I don't want to waste a level 3 spell on killing these fucking things. Just die. Leave me alone. I can't believe I was using main action on that. There's just really not much better to do right now. Really. Oh, it's Shadow. Oh, he's dead. None of those guys ever drop anywhere. Yeah, I'm scared it's gonna like poison me this turn. Oh, he already went. Yeah. What? He gets 2?
What fools these mortals be. Let's light them up.
16. Pretty weak, bro.
Still on my feet. With haste. End this. Victory awaits.
Are you serious? Huh. Yeah, do it. Fuck him up. Nice miss. Moron. Idiot. Check this out. Oh man.
No gloom, all doom.
All doom. All doom. Get fucked. Ooh, what is that? Prisoner's robe. Where guys supposed to do poison damage? There's no 1 to 4 poison damage. That's never gonna happen, but honestly, I mean, that's just objectively better than this fucking thing, so.
Can't give up. Not now.
Yeah, let's go, let's go.
Victory awaits. Taste my fury.
My fury. Oh my god. Lizelle, get out of there. Jesus.
Wonder if the gods are watching me.
Where's my victory music, bro? Wait, what? What do you mean I can't go there? Why can't I go there?
Time to get going.
Skellington. I'm surprised this didn't light on fire.
What's hiding here?
Alright.
We're not doing that anymore. Instead, now, as a DPS or support, you can get your position, hold it, land your value, and that's what the game's about. 5v5 is way better like this. Because that's the way the game plays, the heroes can be reworked to kind of have a much more reasonable distribution of power. What I mean is, in 6v6, the synergies were so high, the outlier heroes were so much more severe, whether it's Symmetra, Bastion, etc. They could never have too much, and it's even worse for the tanks for that matter. they just utterly couldn't design tanks. They didn't know what to do with Orisa because they wanted to have this bunker playstyle, but they also had Sigma doubling down on that. In the end, it feels like their vision for that old Orisa character got reworked into Ramatra, and the gap between boring, halt, and bunker compared to poke you down and take opportunities to close the gap with Ram. I don't know. I think Ram is an awesome character in Overwatch 2, but I also did enjoy playing bunker in Overwatch 1, and it's just like a more interesting, less BS way to play. I want to elaborate more on the gap between high-level gameplay and the average player, because there was plenty of tank characters in Overwatch 1 that just couldn't function in most metas unless you positioned perfectly, because they had to be balanced with the mindset that the potential synergy and top-tier positioning would cycle their cooldowns and be so oppressive that the balancing had to be toned back on those characters for their peak output. Otherwise,
I think we're just basically done with here, right? Maybe we probably just go to like the colony or whatever. Are we all here? How many spell slots does she have? Oh, she's got plenty of shit. Okay. Yeah, we'll tell Gale to fuck off. Oh, Gale can equip this. Right? Oh, wrong guy. Gale can equip that. I mean, he's got nothing better to equip, right? Oh my god, he kind of looks... That looks cool as fuck. Oh, it's got like spider webs on it. That's fucking cool. Yeah, let's go, bro. Okay, but you're still out of the camp, bro. We'll use you later, okay? Don't worry, you're not getting left behind like Will is, okay? You just only get to party sometimes. It's mostly because I'm just trying to get value, or like not get value out of, but just like use Karlaka more, because I've like not used her in most of my playthroughs. Because either she's been dead, or she's been dead, so...
they would dominate the average tier of play. Remember, there was metas where Reinhardt was unplayable at higher tiers, but was the entire meta tank for the rest of the players. Imagine that. This is an argument Flats would go on, and I'm almost coming at it from the other end of it, making a different conclusion, looking at the same evidence. He says that it's kind of bad that you'll go through the ranks on Reinhardt.
For magic missile. Yeah, it's just kind of like, who's wearing this necklace? You know what I mean? I mean, Ray of Fear is kind of just a better spell anyway. But who's wearing it? You know? Yeah, Lizelle is gonna use her fucking action to do that? Like, are you kidding me? It's like best off on her, but Amulet of Misty Step is just like always what you want on her. I don't really care what anybody thinks. That's just like objectively true. I don't know why you would ever want anything else on Shadowheart for a necklace. Unless you have the Boots of Misty Step on her here because you think a necklace is going to be better than this 3 healing thing. This 3 healing thing is a very cool quality of life thing, to be honest though. If you're consistently using your bonus action to heal your teammates or yourself or whatever, you're basically just getting 3 free healing by just wearing these boots. So, I don't know. I think these boots are nice. What is with the absence of rings on, like, this playthrough, dude? I have, like, 2 rings. Yeah, I need to like sell shit to this guy. But yeah, like you just like need Misty Step on your guys. So I'm probably gonna give her once per turn. When you dash, you can erase for 2 turns. She's more likely to dash than Karlak is. That's why I leave those boots on her. We can do this book thing right now. Let's read the book. Oh wait, do you need somebody who's smart? Hold on, put the book away. Should I have like Shadowheart do it? I think it's Wisdom. I think it's Wisdom. Shadowheart is 18, right? Hell yeah, she does. Shadowheart. It's all on you, baby.
Art, and then get up to the high ranks and realize, well, you actually can't really play him in Grandmaster. So good luck getting there on that character, but now you're out. I honestly think now there isn't that massive fall off between playing tank at the average tier of play and playing tank at the top tiers of play. The gap is much shallower. Now, what was sacrificed is higher end depth, but if only a few hundred players are actually actualizing that anyway, what's the point? Like, good for you that you get to play real Overwatch and it's this beautiful masterpiece of a competitive game. The rest of us are struggling out here with synergistic tanks and bad team comps. Overwatch 2 in comparison is just far more playable always. Let me just make it very clear that I acknowledge that we're in this insane power creep era of the game, but even with that being the case, 5v5 is just far more fun in every aspect for every role, including tank. Because while tank is brutal now, it was way more brutal in Overwatch 1, where you had to have your off tank synergize with you. Now, yes, in 5v5, it's very, very important that you play with your support's value because they're the ones that are kind of picking up that off tank slack. Well, in Overwatch 1, that was still kind of the case with the supports a bit, but there was an additional player that you had to somehow synergize with, and there was far more bad tank team compositions than there was good ones. I actually can't believe that I have to remind us all about this, but think of how many matchmaking games where your tank combo was basically unplayable against the enemy team's comp. We can't just look at the top end potential of what 6v6 can do. We have to look at what the average player's experience was. And having the game feel unplayable most of the time is not a good one. 5v5 is always playable. You might get rolled, but it's playable. Yeah, Overwatch 1, I think even just in the open queue system, I talked about this with Nateson.
Yeah, dude, oh my god. Like, it's just so cringe. Every fucking game when you would have like a Winston Orisa or you'd have like a Winston Roadhog. Or like a Reinhardt Roadhog and shit like this. Like, it's just like so fucking cringe. If people don't understand how to push through choke points and shit. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Like, I would play main tank and then the other guy would pick Reinhardt or some shit. Like, I'm playing Winston. Bro, like, pick Diva. Pick fucking Zarya. Holy fucking shit. Like, people just, like, don't understand how the game works. It's, like, so retarded. Oh, my God. It's so fucking annoying. And, like... Yeah, there's like some annoying things in this game. The team comp difference is like leagues different in Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1 with how frustrating it is with what your teammates pick. Like, it can be kind of annoying, but it's more so about like how they play what they picked that I get frustrated on versus like what they picked being the part that I'm annoyed about. Dude, honestly, I'm already so close to the whatcha-doozy thing. I think I'm just not even gonna buy heavy armor. I think there's no reason to. I don't see a reason to purchase heavy armor. Should I purchase dual wield hand crossbows for the boy? I mean, they're not gonna use them, right? Oh my god, that's so expensive. Holy shit. Oh, we already did that. Here, let's...
He loves open queue. Like, if we had a draft mode, if they went full out, lots more heroes, complex draft mode, then they could have thinned down the power of those multi-tank comps that kind of ruined the game, or AoE healing and all of that added synergistic value that broke the balance of 6v6 with bans or draft. They could have figured that out. That's what I think. I don't think it was a balance concern. I think it was a format concern, and they chose to kind of split the difference on that and just cut the top end off, which was a genius move and has worked. The Overwatch League, despite it maybe ending soon, produced far better gameplay, and the average player's gameplay, I would attest, is far better. So much better that I'm confused why we're even bringing this up nowadays. In Overwatch 1, you
game's not
legit
bugged.
felt like some matches you loaded in and you couldn't play. Kind of like going to the playground, getting everybody ready to play basketball, and then the one guy who's supposed to bring the ball brings a rugby ball. Yeah, good luck bouncing that. And then for the rest of that match, everything's off kilter and basically doesn't function because your team isn't playing the pre-described synergistic tank combo that your team just had to pick. I will take rock, paper, scissors over that, certainly. The reason is I feel on all three roles, you do have options to counterpick anything the enemy throws at you. Okay, might be a bit lame that we got to counterpick all the time now, but I'd rather have the tools in my hands to counterpick and know it's up to me as opposed to my tanks or my other tank in 6v6 just doesn't want to play the game today. While you could argue in 5v5 having...
Okay, I don't know what the fuck this bug is, but I can't open menus. I can't loot things. I have to just like reload the game, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, so we'll save and reload, I get. I don't understand what's going on. The game's not bugged though. Dude, I can't believe people fucking haha reacted my comment on that. It's so stupid. Or like people disagreed with that.
one player that's throwing is more severe. I disagree. I think in 6v6, the playability of the game, let's just put winning the game aside. Like winning shouldn't be what's important to the conversation. The playability was easily hijacked by just one player messing up the team comp. 5v5, far better. Even if you have a wacky one trick, they at least can go get their position and get their value to the extent they can. End of the day, the main reason why I feel like I can test this is in Overwatch 1, there was plenty of times where I just didn't want to play the game. Too easy for the meta to be horrible, and too easy to know that if my team doesn't load in with the specific characters that I'm going to have a horrible time. We've had moments like that in Overwatch 2 so far. I'd say the Gigahog era and now the deployment era. It's easy to get stomped. But even in those games where I'm getting stomped, I feel like there's a window for me to swap to something, to try something else to have a chance. Doesn't always work out, but because the enemy is counterable, if you engage with the game on its terms, it's still playable. You just might have to learn more heroes, which is convenient because they keep adding them. I think this game is far more open for its design space because they don't have to worry about how they're gonna break the tank category when they add a new one due to synergies. Instead, now tanks can do the thing that they're supposed to do. What I mean when I say that is hold the front line. That's what 90% of the players expected their tank to do in Overwatch 1 anyway. Think of the genius of this decision of them making and reworking and simplifying and making it more straightforward for most players. They were already just kind of walking to cart and brawling it out. That's how they played Overwatch to begin with. That's what they thought it was, right? The deeper complexity that I understand that the 6v6 advocates are talking about, it was far more severe to maintain high ground, forcing more cooldowns out. It was more complicated in 6v6. But for most players, they redesigned the game to play like they were playing it anyway, meaning that players can jump in and understand what's going on. There's no point of having a deeply complex game that its player base doesn't get at all. Now, I still think there's layers for the community to learn about Overwatch 2, but they made the tank category more forgiving for most players. It is less interesting for top tier players, but even you guys didn't have that many tanks. You were still getting fast queues in Overwatch 1, and yes, they've reworked the balance of the game so that support has overshadowed the tank power. I agree with that, but I think it's pretty clear that the game is far more fun, more approachable, more playable, and more of a shooter, maybe most importantly. 5v5 playing like a shooter game instead of a, I don't know, deck builder like Overwatch 1. I'm sick of saying RPG team comp builder. I know I've said it so many times in this video, but I don't want to play a deck builder. I want to learn some heroes and go shoot some stuff for the most part, or set up or support a teammate doing that. That should be what the game is about, and it is. Some of the stuff we're shooting nowadays are deployables, but once you get those out of the way, you still get to shoot the enemy. Just straight up, so much more fun and adds so much longevity to the game now. While yes, losing some of...
I mean, I'm glad that people are getting mad about the deployable thing, because deployables are just cringe. Like, they've just always been cringe. I don't know why, like, they have ever been in any game at all. Oh god, wait, why am I so heavy? Harrison, what have you done? Like, to just fucking cringe. Why the fuck would you ever want to, like, go up against something that has auto-aim, turrets, like, bullshit? And then you have to, like, deal with the guy. At least, like... Dude. Can I, like, walk? Like, what the fuck? I can't walk up the fucking thing? Like, it's just never been, like, interesting gameplay. Oh, we'll keep the water, actually. I don't know why I took out the water. Is this valuable? No. Give me the money, baby. Okay, let's pick up everything I just dropped.
The Overwatch 1 complexity simplifies the game a bit. It takes it to a place where we can be free to play and players can jump from trying Apex to like jumping to Overwatch, and it's not as severe because it is shooter game first with MOBA elements that you have to learn, as opposed to a full out pretty much MOBA game most of the time. The thing I think people forget about when we have these conversations is like it only really applied to such a small percentage of players in that 60 million or whatever sales for Overwatch 1. Most of them liked open queue, and the sweaty try-hard role queue variant that the hardcore community wanted wasn't what the average mainstream player wanted. Just because they wanted the dream of open queue doesn't mean that they wanted all the downsides that came with it, because in those games you might not have a tank and the enemy does, and all of a sudden their game is way easier, or they're running a good comp, you have a bad comp, way too reliable. The gap between the comp power of good comp versus bad comp was unplayable. And from a quality standpoint, even putting aside the player numbers and all that, I think there's too many stacking reasons for me to like 5v5. I can't even really find a gap where I would even consider saying 6v6 has a leg to stand on, because I think every single point that they make falls flat when faced with the reality of the evidence that we had for years. Yeah, that's it. Mic drop. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. Like the video and...
Oh, holy shit, that's it? Damn. Enemy damages the wearer. They gain Wraith for 1 turn. This is more melee attack damage, yes? Yeah, yeah. I think Karlach's just always going to be better off with, like, higher armor class. Have I reworked Karlach, by the way? Maybe. I don't know. I think I have. Am I just gonna do like dexterity strength? Why did I keep wisdom? What is wrong with me? There's no reason to keep wisdom. It's a fucking barbarian. You're supposed to be stupid. Yeah, having higher AC is really good. Also, 14 dexterity is really all you need for to get the max value out of medium armor. So like once we get that, we're fine. Maybe I could do like the medium armor proficiency thing. What's my current boots on this guy? I would rather dash and get Wraith. The dash and get lightning charges. I don't think this is very relevant. Oh, I also still haven't even given that to Gale. Who wants the Constitution thing?
Hit subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell icon to actually get notified when our new videos come out. We'll see you guys
Hit the
next time.
bell as well. All right, fellas.
I was scrolling around YouTube and I came across one of my favorite channels. Frito, your Overwatch. Congratulations on 800,000 subs, my man. Overwatch boomers really want 6v6. This video was addressed at the Group Up podcast, and I was on arguing for 5v5 versus 6v6, and I obviously was arguing for 6v6. And the most offensive part of this video is the reality that I have to accept that I am closing in on boomer status, right? I'm getting there, man. Frito's like a mentor to me, and it's not often that we actually disagree on issues in the game. So, you know, we both love game theory. It's always fun to talk about this. So I figured I'd make a reaction video because I don't mind if you prefer 5v5. That's fine. But what really grinds my gears is when people claim they like 5v5 and state the reasons for it as objective facts when they are not true, when the opposite is true for what they're arguing. Frito, in his defense, is identifying issues properly in the game, but they haven't realized yet that 5v5 exacerbates the exact issues that they bring up more than 6v6 did, and it applies it to your casual player, the hard meta counter-swapping tanks that you really only see in high-level play when people claim that tank synergies are the most OP thing in the game, which, newsflash, they were not, and I've got a video coming out on that later. Supports broke the game, not tank synergies. We'll talk about that later, but we're going to break this video down, react to it, and get into the facts about what are the reasonings behind why people like 5v5 more? And are they actually true? The claims people making true? In this case, I beg to differ. So let's see. Let's get right into the video. Frito, you have the stage, my man. Let's do it. 1.25x.
What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. The only thing that I enjoy more than being on the Group Up podcast is listening to it. If I could, I would take that podcast, roll it up, and smoke it, which I think might be required because of some of the arguments I'm hearing for 6v6 to return in Overwatch. I think they're suffering from some severe memory loss with some of the things I'm hearing coming out of the community with these low-tinted glasses. But I think a lot of you guys in the comment section as well on the 6v6 hype train. So let's break it down and try to steelman that argument first, and then go through all the reasons why I think it's a ludicrous idea. Some objective things about 6v6. It had a higher skill ceiling because of the complexity of the team compositions. We had pretty much all of the same shooter kits that we do in Overwatch 2, but with a severely more complicated added layer of tank synergy, which, when you pick synergistic tanks, had the skill ceiling of really maximizing the control in a MOBA aspect. Nowadays, tanks in Overwatch 2 are more giga brawlers.
And I think it's just fair to say, like, as a personal preference, I prefer just interacting with another tank on my team. And I think casual, like, it's not necessarily the skill ceiling, right? Excuse me. It's just about, like, what you preferred, I guess, if that's more of a preferencing and not talking about how they actually interact with each other in the game. Like, I just thought as a tank player, it was more fun to have another one to interact with. And a common theme that I see, and on the Group Up podcast, we didn't do a great job of talking about the casual player's experience, right? And that's something I try to take the conversation to, but when you've got three co-hosts, right, who are very passionate Overwatch League pro players, right? You know, it's hard to take the conversation away from there. And I wish we could have represented the casual player better, but a lot of casual players don't like the stress of solo tanking, right? Your mistakes are super apparent. Master Ian Gamer, excuse me, Jesus Christ, had a great video out talking about it. And a lot of people just like having another tank there. It takes pressure off them. It's more fun, and it just adds. It's just there's more to do, and people preferred that. So if that's your preference, there you go.
Only
It's not about the
Overwatch
skill
1 fans
ceiling.
remember how difficult, challenging, and deep the game got with 2 tanks because the fundamentals of layer.
Also, hot take, I don't think it was that difficult to bubble another tank as Zarya. I don't. I think doing it right and then executing mechanically was the hard part, but like actually bubbling was one of the medium difficulty things, for example, on Zarya.
Bring your abilities together to maximize space when working correctly was unlike any other game experience that's ever been released. Now, in the 6v6 camp, they make the claim that the heroes were designed for 6v6. Well, if you heard the devs from Overwatch 1 talk, I'm not sure they even knew what some of those heroes were designed for necessarily.
The devs didn't understand what they designed half the time, too. Look at Brigitte, right? She's broke the game even now. She still hasn't been fundamentally changed, which I will talk about a little bit down the line.
From what I understood, especially then, they designed heroes based on their character fantasy, and the sort of formatting was secondary, definitely. And meta implications and game balance and OP synergies, those aren't really on the table when it comes to the design of the game. They just want to make fun characters. But what I will agree with is that in the 2-tank scenario, having an off-tank meant you could kind of supplement any playstyle, and even as metas can come and go, there was always options for you to pick around your
Wait, what was
Roadhog
that?
player. Or, whereas in Overwatch 2, you just have a Roadhog, and before he gets his rework, he very clearly does not seem like he's got all of the tools a tank needs in order to maintain that single role position for now. The other standout is a key takeaway right now, Wrecking Ball. Pretty horrible of a tank in the turret meta, mainly because his strength isn't holding the front line. It's scurrying and setting up pincer attacks, and in some metas he's been pretty good. I think he's been underrated in Overwatch.
It's not about how Ball's been pretty good. It doesn't matter how you balance Ball. You could balance him to make him the most OP hero in the game. In 5v5.
Hold on. What's nobody has chatted. Good. Keep it that way. Ice. Is it Ice Shard? Am I thinking of a Pokemon move? Ice Crystal. Morning Frost. Oh, I see Metal. Where's the icy metal? Okay. So this is after I kill it. Okay.
That way to play the character can never come back. The disruptor tank can't exist because if you're going in the back line trying to disrupt, your team does not have a front line, right? There's no way that you can even begin to attempt to play that character. And that one-dimensionality of the tank role doesn't really matter if you're at the skill ceiling of the game or you're at the skill floor. You suffer that loss. If you liked playing these characters, you cannot play them no matter what rank you are, right? And the big argument about tank synergies that people...
Why is it lagging so much, the video? Like, what is wrong?
No way that you can even begin to attempt
Is it because it's...
to play that character. And that one-dimensionality of the tank role doesn't really matter if you're at the skill ceiling of the game or you're at the skill floor. You suffer that loss. If you liked playing these characters, you cannot play them no matter what rank you are, right? And the big...
Oh, it just happens when I go into Baldur's Gate for some reason. Maybe I need to get a different way to do this.
big argument about tank synergies that people try to bring up when they say they were the most OP thing in the game, they were too OP, is that in order to execute them, you had to be at the ceiling of the game. right? You had to be really, really good, or else they weren't impressive because you couldn't combo, right? That was the whole argument. And the only
Is there any other way to do picture-in-picture, or is this the only way? There was like some Chrome extension that I had. It was just like more clunky than picture-in-picture. What the fuck was it called? Did I just disable it? Hold on, we're trying to get a fucking extension. Oh, I need to open the web store. My bad. I have new drivers for what to do. Oh god, it's gonna tell me to restart my computer when I'm done with it.
time you really saw those combos be overwhelmingly effective were at the skill ceiling. By that.
Wow, thank you. I just installed an extension to do exactly what I already have. Thank you for nothing. No, dude, what was that app that I had? I can't remember if it was a download or if it was another thing. my game driver